I'm not an apologetic type person. Once again, it comes down to, if you think you can do actions and there's no consequences for them, then you're wrong. I know what I can legally get away with and what I can't legally get away with, and I will run right up to that line. I have absolutely zero regrets for the way that I handled it. I don't intend to apologize to anybody.
Hello, it's Leighton here with a little exposition. So at Easter dinner this year, I found out that there was a man in my neighborhood who was helping rescue some reptiles. But there was a petition going around trying to remove Mr. Reaves from the neighborhood due to him owning exotic animals. So how did you first learn of Mr. Reaves?
Newspaper.
I learned when a neighbor came down to see me, and she came in the house just screaming because somebody had snakes in his house, and she's going to put a stop to it.
What are your thoughts on a neighbor owning reptiles in our neighborhood?
Well, let's give credit where credit is due. First of all, I think Mr. Reaves should be credited with the fact that he sees a need, number one, to take in reptiles that have been abandoned, or people want to give them to him because he knows he has knowledge about them. And so that is important, that we give him credit for that, because he's taking care of a need. However, I feel like probably this sort of a venture needs to be done in the country, or out in the country where he has more space and room. That's where I stand there in that regard. As far as why I think maybe he should do this in the countryside is very simple. I think that there is always a danger of a creature getting loose or being mishandled and bites someone. Not everyone is comfortable around reptiles, particularly snakes. I think that there's too great of a. There may not be a great chance that one would get loose, but if it did, it could be a disaster, particularly with children in the neighborhood and so on. So, I would not care to have someone with reptiles in their home in my neighborhood.
Is there anything Mr. Reaves could do or has already done to change your opinion on this situation?
Oh, I think so, to some degree. Not to an open-ended situation where he could do whatever he wanted, of course. But if the guy would be willing to set aside an evening to meet all of his neighbors, for instance, or have like a town hall meeting, and say, okay, here's what I have and what I do, and I do this best, and this is what I would like to do in the future, and be very open, be very cordial. That's the most important thing. Non-defensive, even though many people who come to meetings like that are defensive, as we all know. So, yeah, there's things he could do to calm things down a little bit. Sure, absolutely.
I think if I were in his shoes, I would want to know what the other person's feelings are and what are their concerns. And if then maybe I could cooperate and we could all live together in the neighborhood without fighting. But every person has an opinion, and they have the right to voice it. And if he can help somebody get over the fear of something, I'm sure he would do it. And if he didn't, then I'd probably say, no, I wouldn't want to deal with somebody like that. That's where I am.
Now that we've heard from different people in the community, here is Mr. Reaves himself explaining his side of the story. First question is, where are you from?
Well, I grew up in Cape. Was originally born in St. Petersburg, Florida, but moved as an infant to Vicksburg, Mississippi when I was about 4 or so. We moved to Cape. Grew up in Cape. Went to Elma Schroeder and Central Junior High and high school, and went to SEMO. Pretty much grew up around here for the most part. We moved here in 1973. Other than going off to school for a bit and doing my Army thing for the last 3 decades, I did a lot of traveling with that. But yeah, this has always been home. So we moved over to Jackson. Trying to think about. We bought this house almost 4 years ago. So, and we lived in a duplex for a while over in Klaus Park, and then we bought this house. I'd probably say collectively we probably lived in Jackson for about 6-7 years, somewhere around in there.
So when did you start helping reptiles?
Okay, so my daughter, who is now 21, when she was 14, she was on A honor roll, and she wanted a chameleon, and we ended up buying a chameleon, and then like most 14-year-olds, she lost interest within about 3 or 4 months, and my wife and I kind of got smitten with them and kind of went from there. It grew as a hobby, and it was just a hobby for a long time. We ended up at one point had about 21 chameleons. We have like 10 of them now. They're very short-lived animals. They only live for, on average, about 4 to 7 years, somewhere around in there. They don't live long, so as they died off, we haven't replaced them. But we did kind of expand over probably the last 3 years. We really started expanding. When people found out about us, we started getting phone calls about, hey, can you do this? Can you do that? Can you help me with this? It started out with more husbandry issues as far as helping people with, how do I take care of this animal? What do I do? And we still do a tremendous amount of that. And then we had people started saying, oh, can you take this animal in? And because we love the animals, we ended up, we couldn't say no. So we did, started moving more towards the rescue side of it, but we still try to do, our main goal is public education. It's do your research before you buy these animals, understand what they require. A lot of them are very long-term type animals. We have geckos that easily live for 15 to 20 years. Chameleons are short-lived. Tortoises, what we talked about, you're looking low-end 40 years, high-end 80, 90 to 100 years. We've got tortoises now that will have to be willed over to my 13-year-old son, who has decided that he would take them on. None of my other kids are interested, but he said he would take them on. So it's been kind of a journey that's kind of progressed over time. But I would say probably in the last 3 years it got more and more serious for us, and we still get a lot of phone calls. I mean, we took in an iguana on Monday night that is at the vet right now. It's at Skyview Animal Clinic. Had abscesses on his face from fighting with another male iguana because they were in the same enclosure, which is an absolute no-go. They're very territorial animals. That's just one example. We will bring them in, rehab them, and then look for new homes for them. I've rehomed them as far away as St. Louis and Kansas City. I've got buddies that we will work with transporting them from one place to another. So we've built kind of a network within the reptile community to make that kind of stuff happen. So yeah, our ultimate goal is education, and we get animals in, we want to get them rehabbed, get them up and running, and get them out the door. So yeah, get them into responsible homes.
What type of animals do you have?
We have tortoises, which are land-based turtles. So all tortoises are turtles, but not all turtles are tortoises. So turtles are aquatic based. So we have Land-based tortoises, we have 3 different species of land-based tortoises. We have 2 different species of aquatic turtles, which require large tanks. One of the tanks we have is a 130-gallon tank, so it's a big tank. It's about 6 foot long, 2 foot high, and almost 2 foot wide. So it's a big tank. They require a lot of room. We have chameleons. I have 3 or 4 different species of chameleons. We have a tegu, which is a large lizard that originates from South America, from Chile and Argentina. We have it's called a Chicoan red. He's about 16 pounds, about 4.5 foot long. He's a pretty big old boy. Then we have, several species of geckos. Most of the geckos are smaller. I have giant day geckos, which is the largest diurnal gecko there is, and I have a Iguanas gecko, which is the largest gecko period that's in the world. He's about, when you come back sometime during the summer, he's about 12, 13 inches long. He's a huge gecko. Very powerful bite on him. You don't want to mess with him. I can mess with him, but I know how to handle him. So, but they're very, very interesting animals. They nocturnal. They eat rotten fruit in the wild is what they eat. So we feed them a food that's almost like baby food. It's like powdered fruits and stuff that we mix with water, and it's got vitamins and minerals, all the things that they need. What else do we have? We've got iguanas. We have an iguana that was found in somebody's backyard in Cape that somebody released, which is unethical, illegal, everything under the sun. Found them back in like middle part of September. So just a matter of weeks later, the animal would have died from exposure being outside. So we have, he's probably a permanent resident for us. We just took in another iguana. What else do we have? Blue-tongued skink. What else? They're native to Indonesia, common in the pet trade. I'm trying to think of anything else. I'm probably missing some stuff. Hedgehog, we got a hedgehog, which is a mammal, but we're one of those, they're considered to be exotic pets. So you got, if it's not a dog or a cat, we're pretty much the ones that get the call for them. So yeah, we got a wide variety of animals. And we have a dog that is a rescue from Max Mission. So all the animals that we have, very few of them were bought. Almost all of them were surrendered or rescued. So yeah.
So what was your reaction to the petition being signed?
Okay, so I'm not gonna lie, my military instincts pushed me into a corner. I'm gonna fight back, and I think I effectively did that. I don't think that I think a lot of it, which we had discussed earlier, I fight 2 things: ignorance and prejudice, and I dealt with both of those during this whole ordeal that ended up lasting about 4 months long. I think there were 5 meetings and 2 public hearings, and we were in the newspaper every other week, and it got real old real quick. But when I saw the petition, my first thought was, nobody came to us, nobody came to me to talk to me about anything. Nobody said, hey, we're concerned about this, concerned about that, and I would have been absolutely more than willing to talk to them. From talking to me that I'm big on education. I want people to understand these animals and that they're an important part of the ecosystem, but nobody around here came to me and asked me anything. They didn't want to, I would have brought them into the house. I would have showed them everything. I wouldn't have had any problem doing that. It got completely blown out of proportion, but I think you saw on Facebook probably I kind of fought back after a little bit, and I posted all the petitions and anything that's turned in to the city as far as things that go for public meeting type things like that fall under the Sunshine Law, and it becomes public information the second you turn it into the city. So if you sign a petition or you write a letter or you make an email and you send it to the city that pertains to just about anything, it becomes public information. I requested all that information, and I have it. I have it available to me if I need it. But I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty upset when it first came out, and but I think I made my point on Facebook about you better be careful when you're signing stuff that fully understand what you're signing before you do that. I've had people ask me to sign petitions in the past. I'm one of those people that I'm not signing any petition unless I'm very intimately aware of the situation and understand what it is before I'm signing any petition, because quite honestly, I can craft a petition and go around and guarantee you get signatures for just about anything that I want, because it's all about how you word it and how you present it. And I think a lot of the people that signed it just didn't understand. They were going by what one person was telling them, and I'm disappointed in that. I wish more people would have come to me and said, hey, I'd like to talk to you about this. What are you doing? What are your plans? All that kind of junk. So, yeah, I was upset.
So, do you happen to have any poisonous reptiles?
I do not. So there's a difference between poisonous and venomous. So poisonous means that they're usually brightly colored animals. So if I eat said poisonous animal, I'm going to get sick. They're not going to do anything to me. They're just going to usually sit there. Usually poisonous animals are, they're usually non-aggressive at all. Venomous means that if I bite you, I'm going to inject something into you and you're going to get really sick. I do not keep any venomous animals or poisonous animals. I refuse to. I have buddies that keep them. They require permits from the state. I have absolutely zero interest in doing that and never will do that.
What was the intention behind the Facebook post that you made regarding the
So my intentions were that I was going to, I didn't get my chance to present my side of the story. It was, I felt like I was backed into a corner, and I really was. At that point, that was my way to come out fighting. I know what I can legally get away with and what I can't legally get away with, and I will run right up to that line. I felt like I was being extremely unfairly treated, both my wife and I. I can take it when they upset my wife. That's what really gets to me. That's probably what made me come out fighting more than anything, was the fact that she was getting so upset about it. I don't know that she necessarily agrees with how I do things sometimes, but that's the military in me. Back me into a corner and I'm going to fight, and that was my way to do it. I wrote 3 big long posts explaining it. I posted all of the petitions. I posted several letters from folks that wrote directly to. I don't know that they knew that all that stuff would be released, but my goal is in the future, if you're going to do that stuff, be well informed about what you're doing and know that it becomes public information, period. So it's not just, I can hide behind this and there's no ramifications for it. So, every action has a reaction to it, right? I mean, you can't you can't you can't say things and do things and not expect consequences from it. I don't know that this is the end of it. If the city decides to come after me, for the animals themselves, which there's no city ordinances governing how many animals I can keep, what I can keep, none of that. So right now there's nothing, but that doesn't mean that they can't try to do something in the future. If they do, I'm prepared to legally go against them. I mean, I'll hire an attorney and I'll come after them. I mean, it'll be game on at that point. There were probably the I'm on the board of Aldermen. He absolutely was prejudiced from the very beginning and made it very well known. He was extremely unprofessional. He should have kept his opinions to himself. He could have voted in any way that he wanted to, just like all of them did. He was very vocal against us, made it very, very clear that he does not like what we're doing. Tough, we're going to keep doing it. I mean, there's nothing that's going to stop me from doing that. I think the city's on very shaky legal ground with telling me that I can't advertise it as a reptile rescue. I changed the page from Reaves Reptile Rescue to Reaves Reptile. I do want to talk to an attorney about that, because you're talking about stomping on First Amendment rights. You know, just because you advertise something doesn't, that's not the action. That's you know, you can say all kinds of things that keep you within legal bounds. That's different from actions. You know, so I'm prepared to fight. Basically, is what it comes down to. But I. It was. We'll see how it goes in the future.
Do you have anything to say to those who felt hurt by some of the things you've said?
No, I really don't. I'm not an apologetic type person. Once again, it comes down to, you know, if you think you can do actions and there's no consequences for them, then you're wrong. I have absolutely zero regrets for the way that I handled it. I don't intend to apologize to anybody. Nobody has apologized to me. You know, if somebody came over and said, "Hey, I was mistaken. I didn't, you know, I didn't realize what you guys were doing. I think what you're doing is great. I was mistaken about thinking that there was going to be all this extra traffic in the thing." You know, hey, apology accepted, man. You know, we'll shake hands and go on. I'll invite you over for a beer sometime. But nobody's done that. So, you know, I don't regret a thing that I've done. I don't regret how I approached it. And I have absolutely no intentions of apologizing to anyone, because if anybody needs to be apologizing, they need to be apologizing to me. But honestly, I don't really care whether they apologize to me or not. It's I'm going to keep on doing what I'm doing. I'm going to keep on living my life and taking care of animals. So yeah, nothing's going to change there.
So what advice would you give to people who are afraid of animals?
So it's one of those things where educate yourself. You know, I talked about the ignorance and prejudice thing. Nothing wrong with ignorance. I'm ignorant on a lot of stuff, but I'm a person that likes to learn new things. And if I've had people that were absolutely terrified of snakes before, that absolutely turned them around. Dr. Johnson, the dentist here in town, she was terrified of snakes. Her and her husband and her daughter came over here, and they ended up adopting a snake from her. Kara was absolutely tickled pink, fell in love with him, thought it was the greatest thing in the world. Ended up adopting a snake from us, a little king snake. And the biggest thing is just to educate yourself, you know. I mean, and I think a lot of things, especially as far as these animals go, a lot of it is they get preconceived notions about how they are. And I'll ask people, you know, well, did you ever get bitten by a snake before? Did you ever have a snake chase you? Have you ever had these? No, I just don't like them. I mean, and in my book, it's kind of like saying, well, I just don't like this particular race of people. And what'd they do to you? You know, I mean, I don't see any problem with this, you know. I mean, it's just educate yourself, you know, educate yourself and learn about them. And it's something that everybody should be doing lifelong. I mean, you should never stop learning. It makes everybody better, and it makes you understand the world around you a lot better. This is about Joe Exotic.
Well, we'll see. Okay, so did you happen to have a millionaire ex-wife who disappeared 20 years ago, never to be seen again?
No, I did not. I absolutely did not, and I don't. You know, I wish I did. I'd probably be in a better position right now, but. No, I have not. And I run a group on Facebook called Chameleon Central. It has almost 25,000 members. It's my group. I'm the primary admin for it, and so I'm well known throughout the United States and actually almost worldwide, to be honest with you. If you ask anybody that's into chameleons, if they know Drew Reaves, they're going to tell you, yeah, I know the guy. You know, I know him from the Facebook groups and all that kind of stuff. So it's interesting from that standpoint. But when that tiger, you know, when the Tiger King thing came out, I watched it and I was like, oh my gosh, I could see somebody trying to make some kind of, you know, documentary about what we do. My life is not that interesting. It's not near as funny as what that guy was. I mean, but you know, ultimately with all of that stuff, I felt sorry for the animals. Ultimately, it was the animals that suffered from that, and it was because of stupid human interactions and stupid actions by humans. That was a big freaking mess. You know, hopefully it'll all get straightened out in the long run. But no, I had a lot of them on Facebook were saying, oh, we're gonna start calling you Drew Exotic, and you know, we'll do a Netflix series on you.
Hello, my name is Leighton, and I just wanted to thank you if you made it to the end of the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you to everyone who helped me make this project, everyone who I've worked with in the past that's helped me. And I also just wanted to ask you guys to please leave a like down below if you enjoyed the video, and make sure to subscribe if you want to see more content. Also, everyone in this video I think is an amazing person, so please don't go attacking people who are in the video, because they are genuinely good people and none of them deserve to be hurt. So, thank you.